Well, that is a good cup of tea in my Marauders map mug. So excuse if my lipstick starts coming off in this video because I am drinking a cup of tea as we film. So it is a good lipstick. It normally stays on, but I'm not gonna trust it. So I am here today to film the reading habits tag. And this tag has actually been around for several years now. It is one that some people even have started filming a second time. And that is why I've decided to film this today, because I want to be able to look back at this in a few years' time and see if any of these habits have changed, because I know that some of these habits have changed since I was younger, and I think that it's really interesting to be able to sort of track the changes through the years. But much like the other tag videos that I've done recently, this is another nice, really chatty one, quite low-key. So yeah, this is just going to be a nice, relaxed, chatty video with my cup of tea. I really like these sort of tag videos where you don't have to worry about holding books up. Have I said that bit already? I don't know. So question one is, do you have a certain place at home for reading? And I basically have two places that I read. One is in bed and one is on my sofa. Both are quite comfortable experiences because obviously in bed you are nice and cozy. Meanwhile, my sofa, I live with my boyfriend and it's just us two, and we've got two sofas, so it's one each basically, so I can sit up or I can lounge around. And I'm actually going to be filming a vlog. In fact, I will already be filming it when you've seen this video, but you won't actually get to see the results of this vlog until towards the end of the month, because I am taking part in a reading challenge. And so you will see then plenty of my two main reading spots. Question two is, do you use a bookmark or a random piece of paper? And this is one that has definitely sort of changed over the years. When I was younger, I would fold over the ends of my books, or I would just shove a piece of paper in. But now I have quite a ridiculous collection of bookmarks. This doesn't look many, but it's loads, and also I've lent quite a few out to Luke because he starts books and then never finishes them. I should probably start chasing him up for some of my bookmarks back, really. But yeah, this is just some of the ones I own. And it would be really silly to use paper when I've got that many bookmarks just sat there gathering dust on the shelf. Question three is, can you just stop reading? Or do you have to stop after a chapter or a certain amount of pages? Now, this is one that I feel like I've changed back and forth over the years with. My current habit right now is, when I can, I much prefer to stop at the end of a chapter. That is the ideal. I'm sure that many people would do that if they could. But sometimes you'll be reading a book with stupidly long chapters and it's just not convenient to get to the end of the chapter. For example, when I'm in bed and I'm there reading on my Kindle and I'm like, I must keep going to the end of the chapter, I must keep going to the end of the chapter. You're not going to get there. This happens to me quite a lot in bed. So I've started trying to adapt to just stopping reading when it suits me rather than when it suits the actual book. The downside to this is sometimes when I pick the book back up, I have to go back a couple of pages because I've usually left it in some really nonsensical place where I have no clue what's actually going on. Back to what I mentioned earlier about that reading challenge that I'm taking part in as well though. The reading challenge that I have set myself is to read for at least 1 hour every day. Now some days, due to time restraints such as life, I will probably only have time to read for literally that 1 hour. And if I'm not at the end of a chapter at that point, I'm not going to keep reading and then get myself late for work, late for meeting with friends, late for, you know, just various different things in life that you have to do, even though you would much prefer to just lounge around reading all day. And so if I'm, as I said, if I'm not at the end of a chapter then no big deal, I'm just going to have to stop where I stop. Question 4 is, do you eat or drink while reading? And generally speaking, not very much these days. I used to. But when I was younger and I used to reread my Enchanted Wood collection over and over and over, I used to stuff my face with biscuits while reading, to the point where I feel like, I couldn't really tell you where, but I feel like somewhere in here there's like still bits of crumbs. Oh no, my bookmark's fallen out. I feel like there's still bits of crumbs all the way tucked into the very sort of crease of the book, which is a little bit disgusting, but you know, kids will be kids. But that is definitely something I used to do. I occasionally have a sort of hot chocolate or a tea or maybe some orange juice or something while I'm reading. Drinking is so much easier, obviously, than eating is. But if I want to eat while reading, unless I'm reading on my Kindle, because then it's so much easier to turn the pages, I don't really do it because I'm very precious about the state of my books now. And I just don't see the point anymore when it'd be so much easier, and also I can eat quicker and therefore get back to my book a lot quicker if I just put my audiobook on instead. So 9 times out of 10, if I'm eating and I'm home alone, I just put my audiobook on while I eat. Then question 5 is multitasking. Do you listen to music or have TV on in the background while you're reading? Again, this one varies for me. When I was younger, I could read to absolutely anything. You name the situation, I could have my nose stuck in the book, nothing would bother me. You could have TV show on with music blaring, with people talking, and I could have just been there in my own little world. I don't find that as easy anymore. I'm not sure whether this has come with living with obviously just my partner, and so I'll find a lot of time where the house is quiet because it might just be me in, and so I'm used to being able to just read in silence, whereas when I was younger that was a luxury I probably didn't get very often. But now, yeah, I really struggle. So if I'm reading with the TV on, I know that it definitely slows my reading down. I don't enjoy doing it, and I try to avoid doing it wherever possible. Music I'm not quite so bad with. I can read with music on. Again, I read a lot slower, but I don't find it torture. I can do it quite comfortably, it just slows my reading down. So again, I don't do it unless I'm put in a situation where it's easiest for me to do that. So for example, if Luke's got a film on, I don't want to watch the film, but I don't want to go to bed yet. The easiest thing for me is just stick my earphones in and read with music on. And it doesn't really matter on the music, it can be classical, it can be even stuff that I like and know. As long as I'm not in the sing-along sort of mood, then I can usually juggle both at the same time, no problem at all. And in fact, sometimes I sort of enjoy reading a little bit to music, because you can get to the point where if you've been listening to the same sort of albums to one particular book over and over, then I get to a point where I sort of associate certain songs with the book, and that's quite a nice feeling. Like, one example of that would be when I was younger and I was reading one of the Babysitter's books, I can't remember the author, having a total mind blank, and I must have been reading it in the car, and my dad really likes Texas, and honestly, Texas Black Eyed Boy must have been on a couple of times while I was reading that book, because now whenever I hit that song, even though I read that book probably over 20 years ago, I can still remember that book really well and associate that book with that song, which is quite crazy to me. Question 6 is one book at a time or several books at once, and this is one that has definitely changed over the years for me. So up until, how many years would it be? Possibly only about 2 years ago, if that, maybe 2 to 3 years ago at the latest, I was a one book at a time kind of person, and that was something I stuck to quite religiously. I couldn't even understand how people could juggle multiple books at once. Now, I always have at least 3 on the go. Often more, because I start books and then decide that I'm in the mood for something else, and so try and juggle those 2, and then before I know it I've got like 6, 7, 8 books on the go at once, and I need to stop doing that. It annoys me. But 3 is like my ideal, actually. So I like to have 1 audiobook on the go, 1 Kindle book on the go, and 1 physical book on the go, and that's because I read them all in totally different situations and places. So I read my Kindle pretty much just in bed, or if I'm out and about somewhere, like at work on a break for example, I sometimes read on my Kindle, but more often than not I will listen to my audiobook now than my Kindle. So Kindle's pretty much become just the bedtime reading. If I'm sat on my sofa, I read a physical book. I know this all seems a bit ridiculous, but if I didn't distinguish the sofa from the bed, then I would never read physical books, because I'd just read my Kindle everywhere, all over the house. Meanwhile, audiobooks are something that I listen to while I'm doing housework, or while I'm travelling to places, or while I'm on a break at work, or just, if I find 10 minutes where I don't want to actually sit down and read, but I want to get a book on the go, just just to get a little bit of reading done on a particularly busy day, then that's where the audiobook comes in. And so I feel like this works really well for me because there is a time and a place for each of those three, and they don't interrupt each other. Even though I might be more into one than another, it doesn't stop me picking the other one up because, like I said, I've got my strict routines for each one. Question 7 is reading at home or everywhere. And I used to be a lot better at being that reading everywhere book. I'm not a book. The reading everywhere part of that. But as I'm getting older, I don't know whether it's just because I'm so busy all the time, but I'm definitely becoming more of a read at home person. As I said, I do occasionally read out and about, but it tends to be more on my audiobook. Even at work now, I tend to listen to my audiobook rather than read my Kindle, on my break, of course. I didn't clarify that bit. On my breaks. I don't just stand there at work reading. But I don't read as much outside the home as what I used to. I miss that. But at the same time, I don't know how to rectify that because I've just got so into the habit of, if I do anything, it's the audiobook. At least audiobooks are a thing. If they weren't a thing, I'd probably be getting even less reading done outside of the home. Question 8 is reading out loudly or silently in your head. And I'm a silently in my head person. I cannot read out loud for any sort of long periods of time. I don't know why. Well, no, I can. It's really bizarre. I can do quite comfortably. I've even been told many times I've got a lovely reading voice, blah, 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 blah. I just don't find it very comfortable. Also, just why would you do it? Makes no sense if I'm at home, all alone, nice and comfy, to waste my voice, make my throat dry going blah, 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 when you can just sit here and be like, I don't really and never really have understood the people that read out loud by choice. Question 9 is, do you read ahead or even skip pages? And this is one that I am actually really proud of. Really, really proud of. Because when I was younger, I was that person that skipped ahead. I even often actually read the back of the book before reading the first chapter. I couldn't handle it. I needed to know what was going to happen. And then I understand it's a very backward way of reading. Very backward way of reading. But now I'm quite the opposite. I never skip ahead. I never check out the back of the book first. I just read in the order I meant to read it. And as a result, I feel like I'm a happier reader for it. But it is something that I've really had to make myself work on, as crazy as that sounds. I was so obsessed with knowing the ending at the beginning. Question 10 is breaking the spine or keeping it like new. So this is another one where I've changed quite drastically, because when I was younger I used to ruin my spines. I don't know how well you can see that, but that is one of the better spines, to be honest. I feel like that is acceptable for the font in here actually. But I used to really ruin my spines. They were just totally trashed and falling apart even in some cases. Whereas now, this book was quite difficult for me to keep the spine nice and pristine. Yet I really, really tried very hard and of course succeeded, which led to me reading like this. Just to achieve it. But I don't know why, but I've become really obsessed with trying to keep my spines as beautiful and as pristine as I possibly can. Obviously that is easier with some books than others, and part of me really wishes I wasn't so bothered about keeping them beautiful and like new. So then question 11 is, do you write in your books? And in similar vein, I used to. I could grab you book after book of example where I have written what used to be my own little library kind of, oh god, this book's so falling apart. My own little library numbers, and I should probably stop trying to do it with a book that is falling apart. I used to do it with like all of my books. To me, it's a sign of how long I've owned the book for. If it's got writing in the corner, see this one hasn't, then I obviously haven't owned it in the sort of age where I was obsessed with turning my book collection into a library. No, we're all good on that one too. Yep. This one's had 3 different numbers in it each time, totally different numbers. I used to want to turn my collection into the library, so I would have a numbering section and then I would have it down on a piece of paper as well, and that was my idea, to like have a library. Now I cringe at those numbers wish that there was a way I could just make them disappear and just have to get on with knowing that they're there. I do think there are situations where writing in a book is okay. For example, I love getting signed copies of books. So the author writing in the book, totally okay. But anything else, no, 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 no. Someone giving me as a gift, no, don't write in my book. Do not do it. I understand that some people really do like it. Like, say if their boyfriend bought them a book to just write them a note in their front little bit or whatever. But to me, no, I don't want anyone writing in my books. I don't write in my books anymore. No one else is doing it either, except for the authors. So yeah, I'm really particular over my books these days. I can't wait to see whether that changes again when I get a bit older still. Question 12 is, who do you tag? I don't know who's done this tag. I don't know who wants to redo this tag out of the people that have done it, so I'm not tagging anyone, but if you want to do it, then of course feel free and let me know if you do, and I will watch it because I love watching these more chatty kind of tag videos. So thank you so much for watching this probably quite long chatty video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe by clicking just over here if you want to see more of my book reviews and other bookish content. And I will see you on Sunday with a book haul. Bye bye!